Welcome. This is a very short-ish bio. Instead of writing lots and lots and lots of text on the website, we thought we'd do a little bio on ourselves, who we are, where we've come from, a few thoughts, so you can get to know us a little bit. So I will start with Anthony, because he'll probably take up 14 and a half minutes of the 15 minutes we've allocated for this. 2 minutes, background, go.
This is tough to fit in 2 minutes. It's been a long time.
30 seconds gone.
Right. Right. Really brief background. Started in the industry as an 18-year-old coming out of football. Started out as a fitness consultant within Fitness First for the first 18 months. So that was kind of served a bit of an apprenticeship where I was just basically a fitness consultant doing inductions, classes, cleaning the gym, getting to know members, all of that. And for me, that was a massively important part of me then stepping into personal training, which I then did. Qualified with NASM back in, I think it was 2006, 2008, something like that. And then went to work in a Fitness First as a self-employed PT. Hugely struggled initially. I had a real passion for programming and coaching, but realised quite quickly that that wasn't enough to get me clients. And really struggled probably from a marketing and lead generation. Well, not probably, definitely. Struggled from a marketing and lead generation perspective and I just kind of plodded by around 6, 8, 10 clients max for about 2 years, if I'm truly honest. But didn't have huge amounts of pressure and outgoings at that point. But as I invested in myself a little bit more in Fitness First, created some workshops and stuff that really helped me from a business perspective. And then gradually over that time, built a really strong business to a point where I probably had too many clients, too many sessions, burnt myself out and had to reset slightly. I reset by moving gyms into the city centre of Manchester. And then from there, it went from strength to strength, doing one-to-one PT, small group PT, and then heading up the personal training team within that club. That then eventually went to me coaching in my own facility within the city centre of Manchester and also educating PTs from the city centre and within Fitness First. And then off the back of that, started to do more education and development and mentoring, support and courses and workshops from a strength conditioning perspective, from a business perspective, in and around the city centre of Manchester, and then put that in front of Pure Gym and said, you need to help develop your PTs, seeing as though you're the fastest growing gym within the country at that point. I went in there, done a bit of gym management, but then eventually spent 8 to 9 years heading up the PT support and education for Pure Gym. And within that time, met Nick and created the PTMA because there was such a huge demand for one-to-one support because of the natural retention and attrition rate of PT. Bit of a whirlwind of kind of 20, 21 years tour of what that's been for me, but a massive mix of struggling initially with the whole marketing side of things to eventually building up, burning out, working in pro sport, working in my own gym, working online, educating and mentoring PTs to where I am now. How long was that?
3 minutes, 48 seconds.
I have that.
For anyone listening, is short for Anthony.
Hey, listen, and do you know what? I rushed that. There's plenty of my career that was missing there that was aspirational, inspirational, and motivational for a lot of people listening. And I've had to miss that because I was very, very wary of rushing. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, if people want a bit more inspiration and motivation, I want to read the true backstory. See in a bit.
Hello.
Go.
Oh, my backstory. So I came into the fitness industry purely through a health scare. I was not into fitness, not into sport, very much a wild teenager. Had a bit of a freak accident when I was 21, broke my hip and decided that I needed to sort my fucking life out. So did my PT quals around working in a soup factory on night shifts and went into a Pure Gym as my first ever job, purely from a health and fitness at that time felt like it had not just changed my life, but potentially, not to be dramatic, but saved my life. I was on a bit of a spiral and a downward trajectory. So I just felt like if I can do this, I want to bottle this up and help anybody else. So I just had huge amounts of passion for getting people mentally and physically healthy, but absolutely lacked in business acumen, but also probably a lot of the technical knowledge when it came to training and nutrition. I got by on very basic kind of knowledge, but just was very much a people's person, loved speaking to people, loved meeting people, helping. So that always put me in good stead in the gym, and I built up a business really quickly. I just really struggled with retention because I wasn't necessarily delivering a brilliant service, although I was a very helpful person and I always meant well. And then when I lost clients, I had no systems, I wasn't tracking anything, there was no stable income for me. And I think it was around the time when I was contemplating, can I do this? Should I be in this industry? Is this something that is going to be long term? In walked Ant and Nick. Look at him. You can't see him, but he's got his hands up in the air. So yeah, Pure Gym decided to, brought you guys in, and you guys put on the PT Business Days. And I remember that really completely changing my outlook on running a personal training business. And I actually started to see it as a business rather than a hobby that I enjoyed and I wanted other people to enjoy. So yeah, built my business up with a very different outlook on how I wanted it to run and what I stood for as a personal trainer, whilst also increasing my own knowledge. Ended up going into management and going to a few different Pure Gyms, managing different Pure Gyms, building up the PT team, and took an interest in nutrition because that was another area where I felt like I personally had struggled myself with disordered eating and other issues around food that I had picked up along my journey. And I felt like I struggled a lot with clients and helping them with nutrition. So I retrained, did a course in nutrition, and then just before we went into COVID, I was seconded into a PT business mentor role that was kind of underneath Ant and Nick, something that Pure Gym were trialing. We went into lockdown, that all got shafted. So I was going to get put back into my management role, and I just really didn't want to do that. So I took the leap to go back self-employed, fully online, just nutrition, and I've been doing that ever since. So pretty much for the last 5 years, and I still do that now. So I run a fully online coaching business that works with people on their relationship with foods, on fueling. I work with athletes, Gen Pop, lots of different people, as well as now being part of PTMA. And that is a very quick whiz-stop tour of my career, 10-year career.
Just realised it's a year in September.
Is it?
It's a year in September, isn't it?
My God, and what have I got to show for it?
What the hell? How is that going to... Anyway, anyone for
We need
context...
to do a simple podcast on that.
We do, yeah. Sky's
On
been...
what?
No, that's mad.
On what you've learned in the last year working with two fucking legends.
Be shorter than this episode. Joking. Nick, it's your turn.
I started... My first ever job was a supervisor when I was doing BTEC sports and I can't even remember the name of it, sports and exercise science or something like that in college. And I was a supervisor of the squash court gym that they threw a couple of like old rusty dumbbells and barbells in. Didn't know anything about training apart from what I did in my college course. And then when I was looking at options of what I was doing, weirdly, what really got me into PT was I think I took a careers day at Fitness First or one of them, and they had connections to the cruise ships and they spoke to us about the cruise ships and traveling. And my older cousin, used to work on one of the cruise ships, and that just sparked me into going, right, I want to be a PT and I want to travel. And so I did my level 3 in 2000, which is a long time ago now, and always with the thought process of going traveling. And effectively my 20s after uni was spending 4 years on a cruise ship, running the gyms, learning really how to sell very well, very Americanized selling protocols and processes, and obviously traveled a lot and gained a lot of knowledge with different people I came into contact with, but a lot more about the selling side of things. And then came back, met a lot of people all over the world, obviously, and had a big list of places I wanted to go. Spent a year here in an LA Fitness, just paying rent, making money to basically go traveling. Went to Australia, spent 4.5 years out there. Probably the best experience I've had from a work point of view. And definitely that probably shaped a hell of a lot of my ethos and my outlooks on training and coaching. Out there, found CrossFit, found NLP, the behavior change side of things, all that kind of stuff. Knew it before. I'd done skill acquisition in uni, and I'd done sports psychology, and I'd done in sales training a lot of stuff, but never kind of joined the dots, so to speak. So spent a long time out there, which is obviously really, really good and really shaped, again, my outlook. And then came back, worked in different places in regards to freelance, and then found Pure Gym were opening there, I think then club in Birmingham, and it was like 40 hours a week. You can come and manage it. There was no model. You could PT outside of it. It was basically like a bit of a dream job. You open the doors, you PT all day, and you go home. Obviously, we know now that didn't turn out that way. But very much enjoyed the challenge of managing a team. In like the operations was easy, the sales was kind of easy. The operations of managing a team of PTs, and obviously I'd been away from the UK for like 10 years then. And what I did in 2000 of like 16 weeks of the level 3 was now like 4 weeks, and you could see the quality coming out of it. And that's when my attention turned to helping PTs, bounced around the country, met Anthony, which was unfortunate, but kind of one of those things. And that was 10 years ago now, Anthony.
I've given you a career, mate.
I've given you a career. Yeah, and we started the PTMA, don't know an exact date, but it's got to be now 8 or 9 years ago. Because we started our role for Pure Gym around
15.
Yeah, that was the year that I was at Pure Gym.
I think it was before that.
No, it wasn't, because I only came to Pure Gym at the end of 2013, and I only spent a year proving the point in gyms. So it was March 2015 that I went for that job, and you were there as well.
So yeah, that's 10 years, and still coach now every Tuesday. Still do Olympic lifting and teach CrossFit and teach, I wouldn't say teach high rocks, but program high rocks.
All standards.
And yeah, that's us. So collectively, we've got a lot of experience. So quick fire. I know we've got a couple of minutes, and don't shake your head.
Well, yours was 6 minutes.
It's okay. The most important one. You know what I mean? So, and biggest struggles with, let's just say business-wise, you had as a full-time PT?
Lead generation marketing. As boring as cliche as it is, lead generation marketing I struggle with from the off. I got into the industry because I coached from the age of 15, and I loved coaching and I loved leading people. So I had this sole focus on, I really want to coach and lead and develop people. I had this new passion that I'd found for like programming and training, and I just wanted to do that with people. But what I didn't realize is that I had to really develop the skill of marketing, lead generation, and all of that type of stuff. And I wasn't the most sociable, unless I was fucking 10 pints deep. I wasn't the most sociable in the world, if I'm dead honest. I wouldn't say I was introverted, put it that way, but I wasn't the type to go and mingle and speak to lots of people and all of that type of stuff. So yeah, I initially struggled with that hugely, and therefore put lots and lots of pressure on myself to be the best coach, communicator, program specialist, like everything that you can think of. I put pressure on myself to, once I got clients, keep clients, wow them enough for them to refer their friends, their family members, their colleagues at work and all of that. And that's kind of how it did work, but it would have been a hell of a lot faster for me if I would have got better at lead gen marketing from the off. And I know no one wants to hear that, but it was just true. That's what I struggle with the most.
Scoy.
I think mine was the opposite. My biggest struggles when I started, in the early years, definitely when I was running a self-employed PT business, wasn't the marketing side, which maybe not in the classic sense, because I was constantly out there talking to people, trying to help them. And to me, that was marketing, like going out and coaching people and helping as many people in the gym as possible was me showing who I am as a coach and what it would be like to work with me. It was the kind of back of house tracking of everything that I was doing. So tracking my monthly financials, tracking how my clients were getting on with their progress, having like a bit of a system in which I could see who was maybe going to leave soon or who needed a little bit more support because they were struggling a little bit more than somebody else. It was tracking the amount of conversations I had or taking contact, having an email list. I had none of that. We didn't really even have social media back then that we used for marketing in that sense. So all of the data-driven stuff, it was very much just driven by my feelings and my motivation and what I wanted to do that week. There was no structure, even with, every week looked different in terms of where clients were and where my training was. And it was very, very up and down. And, when you have a big influx of people and then a big influx of people leave and you start to be like, oh my God, why am I so skint? I've got bills to pay this month. That was a big shock for me. So really get into the weeds of all of that, which is not natural to me. I'm not a numbers person. obviously am now, and it's a lot easier now because I've been doing it for many, many years. But that was a big struggle for me in the beginning, and it felt very tedious, very boring. It took a lot of energy, whereas going out and speaking to people was really easy. So that was my biggest struggle, I think, is the running of the business and the tracking of the business rather than actual coaching and speaking to people. Nick.
I think mixing up, I would say I struggle, like everyone, I think we all struggle with everything at the beginning, don't we? With different things, different areas, and we've all got strengths and weaknesses. I think where I've probably took longer to kind of figure out, which I struggled with which way I want to go with things. Like, naturally, I'm introverted. Naturally, I am similar to Anne. I'm not I don't like to be the center of attention, but then through the cruise ships, it kind of forced me to, because I'm literally, you are the person of the gym and the whole ship. And obviously, it also taught me direct sales, but that wasn't like the way I like to be sold to. So I had like these skills and experiences built up, which really didn't align with me too much as a person. And then coming back and having these two conflicting things, it took probably the biggest thing I was challenged by was like finding my way of doing it, which was effective, but also aligned with how I wanted to do things. And that probably took me a hell of a long time. That was probably the biggest challenge. Normal things like, managing money and lead gen and all that kind of stuff everyone struggles with. And I think I did, definitely. But I think that was probably the long-standing challenge I had. Well, that was lovely, wasn't it? Slightly over because of Anthony. Thanks very much. But hopefully this give you a little insight into our backgrounds a little bit. As you can probably tell, we're very down to earth. Well, me and Sky are. And it's a bit of a whatever.
And straight from hell. He's below us.
Or straight from hell. Brilliant.
The way anyway. Into the camera there.